It is time for my classics bookshelf tour. I actually just recorded a little tiny pre-bit. So I'm sitting where the bedside table was, which is now here right next to me. And I haven't had this area clear and able to get to in a while, so this is a little weird and slightly unnerving. And actually I kind of want to get rid of my bedside table, but that is a tangent we're not getting on. My classics bookcase! Hey! I did one of these, well, it was a while ago, it was a couple years ago I think. And I'm gonna be honest, the bookcase has changed, but not as drastically as my other bookcases have changed. I am planning to do a bookcase tour of my fantasy books in probably a couple months. Now is just not a good time. I don't think I can film that many bookcase tours back to back to back. As it is, this one's gonna take me quite a while to film. I've put aside like 4 hours today to film this video, and you're welcome. I'm just kidding. I do really hope you enjoy it though. Even though it hasn't changed too drastically much, I am filming it on a real camera this time with a real tripod, and I'm excited about that. That is like a big change and a big thing for me. I did also recently film a unhaul from my classics bookshelf. Definitely take a peek at that if you're interested. I got rid of more than I thought I was going to get rid of, but also you're gonna see my collection. My collection is still huge. It is still so big. Now I'm not going to pull off every single book that I own. That would take so long. And as much as it can be really interesting, I just don't have something to say about every single book I own. So I'm going to pull off the ones that I have something to say about. I realized I didn't introduce myself. Hello, my name is Sam. It is so nice to see you. I know bookcase tours tend to pull in a lot of viewers that other videos don't tend to pull in, but if you like this content, please consider liking and subscribing. I really appreciate it. This year, I'm really trying to get back into posting regularly. I'll be posting bookish content as well as some vloggy life content, and I read a lot of fantasy, but I also read a lot of classics and literature, and I'm trying to get better at actually filming and talking about those things again. In 2022-ish, I got on this huge kick of classics and literature, and I just kept buying, and particularly I was buying from UK retailers because I just really prefer those book designs. So you're gonna see the majority of the classics I own are UK editions, vintage, and modern classics, I think, are the two I have the most from. And I don't know, there's just something about the standard paperback size on all of those that I find really appealing. I was not necessarily reading that many classics in comparison. I think I probably read more classics and literature now than I was reading during that time, but I just had it in my head that I needed to buy all of those books then and there. It just was a fever that took over me. So most of these are from that. I still buy, obviously, in both of those genres, but I do not buy nearly as frequently because I have quite the backlist to read up on. And even then, as I have been reading up on the backlist I have and buying far fewer classics and literature than I tend to, I still have the most unread books on this bookcase of any bookcase I have. It just is the case. There's so many books on here. Every single shelf is double stacked. So we'll go through both of it, but there's another row behind this. There's also 8 shelves, plus I put stuff at the very top of the bookcase. So 9 shelves, 8 of those being double stacked. That is 17 shelves basically of books. So no, I have not read nearly all of them. That is not something I have done. And yes, maybe bad habit, but that just means I have a really great library, I think. A library of exciting things. I don't have it organized very well at the moment. I don't reorganize this bookcase that frequently. I don't know why. It's just, there's something about it being slightly, not even vibe-based, because at this point it's not vibe-based. And I was should I reorganize it for this video? But I was that's not honest. I don't keep my classics particularly organized. It is just a mess. And there's something very vibey about that mess, I guess. I just really, I don't hate it. Works for me. Can I find the books I'm looking for? Almost always no. But I enjoy looking for them, because then I'd rediscover books that I forgot I had. I am considering reorganizing it. If I do, I'm going to try to record that and post like a reorganize with me type video, but I've tried that in the past and just, it's not worked out, but we'll see, maybe this time. Because now I have a tripod. That was like the big thing. I had like my little tripod, but now I have like it's big. I got the bigger of the two tripods. Cause I think that's really it I have to say about classics. You'll kind of just get a sense of what I like to read. Oh, there is also nonfiction and literature on here, but it is like 95% classics and like 7% literature, 3% nonfiction. There's some children's books as well. I don't have that many children's books, so I just keep them on here because most of them are like classics children's books. And I think that is it that I have to say about the bookcase before I get started. I'm going to start at the top, but I am going to record the very tip top of it last. So I'm not sure yet if I'm going to place it in editing at the beginning or at the end. I do know we're about to turn over and you'll see the little like side table tour that I already filmed. So you'll see that. And then we're going to go into bookcase. But I'm not sure yet if the top of the bookcase is coming in between that and like the rest of the bookcase. So you get to find out. You get to find out. But we're going to go basically from the top to the bottom. I'm going to do the front row of whatever it is and then pull those out and do the back row. I can't really reach the top row super easily. So probably I'm not going to be pulling off too many books from there to show you the covers. But every other row shouldn't be a problem. I also have some trinkets that are really cute. So you get to see those. And without further ado, let us just get started. All right, this is it. This is my classics bookcase. I am getting over a cold, which is why I wanted to show this like raw version of it. I'm going to be moving this aside. This is my bedside table. It's very heavy, so I'm gonna move that. But before I did, I wanted to just actually give you the full, like, what's on there, because it's mostly classics and literature, as well as these growths from my my classics shelf. But this is what it looks like when most of the time. This is her. So what is here? What is here? We have some tissues, that's what they're called, and chargers. But this pile is pretty much all chivalric romances, because that is just a little interest I have at the moment. So, and like contemporary texts as well. So Orlando Furioso is an Italian poem. It's very long. It's very long. The Romance of Tristan and Isolde, as retold by Joseph Bédier. And these are actually in the pile in the order I want to read them in. Lord Tennyson's Idylls of the King. Wolfram von Aschenbach's Parzival, as well as Tutorial, which I believe is only partial, like a fragment. I'm kind of leaning here. We have Gawain and the Green Knight. This is the Tolkien edition. I really debated on which edition I wanted, but you know what, I was like, we'll just do this one. As well as Pearl and Sir Orfeo. I don't know if we'll be reading those right away, but Sir Gawain I will be reading quite soon. Christian de Troyes, Arthurian romances, and then I have the Penguin editions of Le Morte d'Arthur. This is off of the Caxton text. So this is volume 1 and then volume 2. And the thing is, I will show you because I'm currently reading the Winchester manuscripts. Actually, I'll show you that. It's over here and my bag for work because I've been reading it at work. This is the Oxford World Classics edition of Le Morte d'Arthur, which you'll notice is quite smaller. So it is based off the Winchester and not the Caxton, which is just a different manuscript they found. And here I have actually been annotating and taking notes. But the thing with this edition, and I didn't realize it at the time, because I just kind of grabbed this because this was just what I had available at the bookstore, is that it is quite abridged and there's quite a bit that is pulled out of it. And so I, in reading it, quite want to get the entire text. So that's why I picked up the Penguins as well. So I've been reading that at work. Back to what is here. Another charger. I have By the Sword by Richard Cohen. This is a piece of nonfiction and it is all about swords and like the history of fencing. And it is just so good. I have been enjoying this so much. I used to fence competitively, and so I enjoy swords in general because I love swords just overall. I have a sword there. It I can't remember the company, and that's totally my bad, but this is a Kaisera or Seishura from Name of the Wind. But I love swords in general, but I fenced, so it's nerdy on that level as well. And then I have Charles Perrault's The Complete Fairy Tales, which I want to read for work in progress. I'm working on Ovid's The Metamorphosis, which I dip into City of Fortune. This is also nonfiction. It's about Venice. This is by Roger Crowley. I want to read this when I finish By the Sword. A Fatal Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, Murder in Ancient Rome by Emma Southern. I also want to read Emma's other book, A Rome of One's Own, which is about women in ancient Rome. But I want to read soon. And then this is not nonfiction. This is just Delicious in Dungeon Volume 1. And then over here, so it's a little messy. I'm so sorry. This will all be cleaned up for the rest of the tour. This pile we're going to go into first, but this really is just like stuff that wouldn't fit at the time on the bookcase. That's really just what's happening there. So this pile specifically, this box is just notebooks, like little pocket-sized notebooks. And this pile is, I am considering going back to grad school, but it has been a very long time since I've been out of grad school, so I looked at a couple programs that I was really interested in and found some syllabi, and then from the syllabi found the required reading lists and just picked a couple books off of those texts and have been reading them on my own time. Even if I don't do those programs, I just want to get back into like the academic mindset. So that's what those are, and they are all ones that are like just genuinely interesting to me. So this is Building Imaginary Worlds, The Theory and History of Subcreation by Mark J.P. Wolf. It is so interesting, and like if you're a big fantasy reader, I think you will just find it so genuinely like it's very cool. Right now the chapter I'm in is less about the theory and more about the history, and it's just wild. And then I have The Sword of Welleran and Other Stories by Lord Dunsany, which I'm about halfway through, which I will just tell you my favorite short story in here was called The Ghosts. This is quite good. I recommend it. Picking up Lord Dunsany. This is incredibly dry. This is The Business of Books by James Raven. This is so dry. I had to kind of break from it. I read, was it like a little under 100 pages, I think. It is dense and dry, but it is giving me a lot of context for other things I like to read. And then this is very interesting, Body Minds Reimagined by Sami Shulk. I'm reading this one very slowly because each chapter kind of focuses on a different book. And so I wanted to read the books each chapter calls out, or at least one of the books each chapter calls out before reading the chapter. So that's been kind of slow going. Then I have The Turn of the Screw, which I have actually read. I listened to it, and then I read it twice and then annotated it. And I didn't write an essay, but I did annotate it with like an essay idea in mind so that I was still like engaging that part of my mind. And then I have H.P. Lovecraft's The Thing on the Doorstep and Other Weird Stories. I did only read the, oh my goodness, The Dunwich Horror. But can I just like brag about these annotations? Because I am so incredibly like aesthetically pleased. It wasn't intentionally done aesthetically. Again, like Turn of the Screw, I did this with the intention of like, if I were to write an essay, what would that essay be about? And I annotated it with like that kind of thesis in mind, which specifically for this case was about the usage of sound and how that added to the atmosphere of this text. But I'm so pleased with how it looks. I uploaded a YouTube short of it as well. I was like that proud of it. Like, I don't know, just look at that. There's something about it that's just like nice to see. I'm not normally a big like aesthetically look at that spread, you know, I'm not normally a big aesthetically pleasing annotator, but I do want to read, not everything in this, I don't think, maybe someday, but I do want to read in particular I have pulled out. There were two I really wanted to read. I wanted to really read The Music of Eric Zahn and I think The Thing on the Doorstep. Those were the two that I was most keen on. And then these guys, well, first of all, I'll show you, I'll just point, this is supposedly what the night sky looked like on the night I was born. This is the Tortured Poets Society book that holds the 4 variants. And then these are the extant things. So I don't know when it reaches this point, I don't know what I'm going to do. Probably another on haul. But we have, I'll just pull all these out. Nesting by, I'm going to mispronounce it, so O'Donnell. This was part of the Goldsboro premiere. So I subscribed because there were a couple books they were doing that I really wanted and then didn't realize I had to commit for a whole year. So I'm just kind of waiting that out, unfortunately. This is the Locked Library edition of The Sirens. I forgot to skip that one in time, but I'm sure it will be good. I'll read it. The Witching Hour by Anne Rice. This is the new cover. I love The Interview with the Vampire TV show, and I read the book years and years and years and years ago and enjoyed it well enough but never continued. But I do really want to read this. I feel like it's going to be quite the vibe this summer. And then Lamb by Lucy Rose is also from Goldsboro, and I love this edition. Actually, this is one of the ones I didn't mind not skipping. Like, look at that. That's so pretty. And then The Girls by John Bowen, and this is part of, this is a McNally edition. And this just sounds kind of also very much up my alley. And then behind, we have How to Be Eaten by Maria Edelman. A Discovery of Witches, which I keep saying I'm going to read and then just don't. The whole Wicked series, which I'm actually going to start this month. My friend and I are going to buddy read it. I have Murakami's new book, The City and Its Uncertain Walls, and this is the Waterstones edition. And then I have Our Evenings by Alan Hollinghurst. I love Alan Hollinghurst. There's a signed copy. I haven't read it yet because I really just savor his books. The Favorites, which also a Goldsboro. I wasn't, like, that is very pretty. I wasn't excited for this one, but it's gotten a lot of really positive reviews, so now I am. Death by Shakespeare. This one was really good. This gave me so many just like fun facts that I pestered so many friends about. I was like, did you know? But this one was so good, and this has kind of kickstarted me being interested in reading nonfiction, which I just hadn't really been before reading this. There were like exceptions, but this is like, that was just like me being generally interested. And they have Not Far From Brideshead, Oxford Between the Wars by Daisy Dunn. I've had this for a while and just haven't read it, which is on me. Because I really love Brideshead Revisited. It's one of my favorite novels, and I really wanted to just like return to that before reading this one, and I haven't yet, but I will probably just cave and read this at some point. And then I have, this is the Illumicrate Afterlight edition of 12th Night by Alexine Farrell-Fomos, aka Olivia Black. I just generally think it is a beautiful edition. Whoop! Okay, well, I think it is a beautiful edition, and I generally like Olivia Blake's books, but also more importantly, I'm a big fan of 12th Night, the play, and I felt so stupid. I, like, knowing the title of this, knowing the Shakespeare play, I didn't put together this was based off the Shakespeare play until like way after it had come out. So I don't know why. Like, I read the description, I was like, this is just like 12th Night, and then I was like, oh, well, yeah, of course it is. That's what it's called, obviously. So that is, this is my messy little that. I'm going to move all this, and then we will get to the main event. So, I can't really reach. I'm literally, that's the ceiling, and I'm short. But this is the very top. So I have some Funkos. I have a book pot and a teapot. And then behind, I've got Christmas Carol, Wuthering Heights, Pride and Prejudice, Les Mis, Count of Monte Cristo, No Stars Hollow Line. Then I've got some more Jane Austen there. And then behind here, I have Fangirl, That's Wide Sargasso Sea, Charlotte Bronte, Dorian Gray, Nutcracker. The yellow box is Jane Austen Tarot, and then I have the Phantom Wise Tarot, which is done by Erin Morgenstern, and then Sleepily Ever After, which are bedtime stories. And that's the top. That's the top of the bookcase. I found a little step stool. Okay, so the top shelf is Penguin clothbounds and other tiny little series that I have. So hold on. The step stool is not super. Hold on, better. So it's other little series I have. I have these little, this is the like old style of pushkin. And then I have, what is this? The Macmillan Collector's Library. Hold on, I'll show you. Macmillan Collector's Library. And then the Chiltern. I have very specifically all of the Jane Austen books. And then, my big fat head's in the way. And then most of them that have like the flower patterns. I don't tend to like the ones that have like that pattern. So the little pushkins were like these little like square guys that I just really liked, but they don't do that anymore. They're regular size paperbacks, which I probably have one somewhere on the shelf, so I will show you. But I have Poems Tonight by Raina Maria Rilke. I read this because someone had recommended Rilke to me, and this was the shortest one I could get my hands on just to try. I'm not one much for poetry, and this did not convince me I was, but I think maybe I should give him a try again at some point, because I really want to read the, was it Sonnets to Orpheus? Is that what it's called? I really want to read that. So hopefully. And then I also have Strange Bliss by Catherine Mansfield, and Journey by Moonlight by Antal Serb, which I have, I don't know if I might have unhauled my extra copy of this. I don't remember. I think I did. I read this fairly recently, end of last year. It was like half good and half not good. So very mixed feelings there. And then I have, these are like my pride and joy. I wanted these so badly, and finally Penguin reprinted them. So I'm so overjoyed. This is the clothbound editions of Remembrance of Things Past. This is volume 1. These are by Marcel Proust. I really want to read these so badly. I keep telling myself this summer, and then I keep putting it off. Anyway, so volume 1, volume 2, and volume 3. I just love these editions so much. I think they're so pretty. I love the Penguin clothbounds. Are they the most well-constructed editions of books? No, but they're so pretty, and they make me feel so vintage and like a heroine in one of the novels. So I love that. I believe each book has, or each volume has 2 books in it. So I love these. And then, oh, and I didn't point her out. This is Emma. Oh, you can't see her. I believe it's Emma. I got her at the Austen Museum in Bath. As much as I love like Pride and Prejudice, the character of Emma is my favorite Austen heroine. And then the little Macmillan Collector's Edition, I've got quite a few of these. They're cute, they're small, they all have like the same end pages, and they are like pocket size. Am I wearing a pocket? It won't fit in this pocket because this is not a real pocket. They're kind of dense, but I don't know. I like them. I find these quite charming as well. I think I have mostly female writers. I've got like Persuasion, Dalloway, which I read this book so many times, mostly for school, but I just like have quite the soft spot for it. Oh, Lark Rise to Candleford. I really want to read this one over the summer. I've been saying that again for years. The summer is like for classics or something. I really want to read it. And this edition has all 3 books in the series. Yellow Wallpaper, you know, for us ladies. Prelude with Catherine Mansfield. Passing by Nella Larson. This is my first one that I got for the collection. A Glove Up in Vienna. I want to read this one. I keep saying I want to read this one over the winter. And it's snowing outside right now. It is springtime. It is March. So probably not this year. Far from the Madding Crowd. I don't actually remember where I got that one from. And Middlemarch by George Eliot. Like I said, I don't really like these like designed versions. I just got these two because they're Jane Austen's, but I love the like flower ones. Those are, they just like, they tickle my fancy. There's something about this that I want to take this to the Arboretum and just like sit by the lakeside. Did you hear that crack? The book is okay, I promise. They just crack. So I'm gonna take it to the lakeside and just like read. And I feel like it would be the most charming thing in the world. I think this is my most recent one, The Phantom of the Opera. My Gaston Leroux. I love the musical, so I picked this one up, unsurprising, and just, I do love this design. I think the color palette is just gorgeous. I also have, I mean, Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility. I showed you that one. Mansfield Park, Emma, Tess of the Dubervy. Don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. I've never actually checked. Tenant of Wildfell Hall, Picture of Dorian Gray. I also really love this one. Wuthering Heights, Madame Bovary, and then not something is not like the others, and that is this. This is The Forgotten Beasts of Elle, the 50th anniversary edition. I do have some like classic fantasy on this bookcase, and this is just the edition that came out. It is a Tom Canty cover, and this is the Naked. It's shiny. I wish it had gone matte and not shiny. So that's not like the others. So I'm going to pull these off, and then we can see. All right, here they are. Can you see them all? Is my big head in the way? They're beautiful. I think you said that, I love the penguin cloth bounds. Things that I've read Anna Karenina. I have a vlog about that. Christmas Carol, I read that like every year, more or less. Tale of Two Cities, my favorite Dickens, well, no, my favorite Dickens book, but Dombey and Son is close second. I don't think they ever did one. Brideshead Revisited. Brideshead Revisited. This won't be too tight so easily. Now I can get it out. I love this. This is maybe one of my favorite penguin cloth-bound covers. I just love it. Emma, I've read. Okay, Cranford. This is one of my favorite books. One of my favorite classics just ever. I love Cranford, and I have been trying, I work at a bookshop, I have been trying to get people to buy this book in this edition for years, and just no one believes me. It is so good. It's about like old women, or they're not all old, but it's a bunch of women in town, and there's a lot of gossiping and like small dramas, and it is so good. It's just delightful on every level. I love Cranford. And then I have Grim Tales by Philip Pullman. This is the first printing, and I only say that because they had to change, I believe, the color that they used because it kept coming off in people's hands. Cranberry Tales. Oh, I got this when I went to Canterbury. I went alone. It was a solo trip, and I bought this while I was there, as one does. It was such a good trip. That was really important to me, just like from my own sale. What else have I read? Pride and Prejudice, Northanger Abbey, and I actually read my Penguin edition, my Penguin cloth bound edition of that. Little Women. I love Little Women, and I think that's it that I've read. I love the cloth bounds. I have to stop myself from buying more because I haven't read most of them. And also there's just so many cute editions of classics. Okay, we're gonna go down to this shelf, and actually I might just be able to do that. That's good. You can see everything, right? A little bit of an angle, but I'm sorry about that. Trinkets. I have Totoro, but it's a nesting doll. And it keeps going down. I have, oh, no, I put him on sideways. Oh. I have this little bird that I got at the Arboretum. Focus. There we go. And I just find him so charming. He is so cute. He's my little bird. I have a Snuffkin. And guess what? It's springtime, which means Snuffkin is arriving. And then I love this. This is a bookend set. I had a dachshund for a while. He unfortunately passed away a couple years ago, but I love that. Oh, and then I have this. I have had this for years. It is not drinkable. It expired in 2018. Okay, not drinkable, but my friend got me this as a part of a Percy Jackson gift where all the food was blue. So I've just kept this as a memory. And then I have a little Jane Austen Funko Pop. Focus, maybe? There you go. Cute, cute, cute. Okay, so this front row, this is obviously a very small front row. This is also like a shelf that I had to make a little taller, just to hold some taller books that I really wanted on the shelf. So this is the nope. My God, the Everyman's Library edition of His Dark Materials trilogy. This is one of the few covers they did that I like. I actually really like the just naked Oxford edition, or my gosh, I keep calling it that. Naked Everyman's Library editions. I really enjoy those. And then I have Hidden Sea, which has just a horrifying cover underneath. Ah, jump scare. And this one also has like a printing error, but I found it really charming. I bought this in a little indie book shop in, it wasn't Detroit, but it was near Detroit. Lonely Castle in the Mirror by Mizuki Sugimura. Blood in the Mist. I actually have another edition of this as well that you'll see by Hope Miralist. With an introduction by Catherine Arden. Big fan. I want to read that this springtime. We'll see. Lost Property. Whoop. Lost Property, Memoirs and Confessions of a Bad Boy by Ben Sonnenberg. The Cafe of Lost Youth by Patrick Modiano. And Winter's Love by Han Soo Yin. This is another McNally edition. This is one of the early editions when they did it like that with the little like drop back cover. I kind of miss these, but I totally get that production for that was probably far more expensive. So this one is just like a gorgeous little copy of Second Sight of Zachary Cloudsley. This is a Goldsboro edition. I don't know if it's going to pick it up really that well, but I really like that. I think it is really pretty. The end pages. I have not read this one. It was by Sean Lusk. What else is on here that I really want to read My Brilliant Friend. This is a top priority for me. Top priority. And ooh, Winnie the Pooh. I was a big Winnie the Pooh kid with the like Disney films, like the animated films, and I never actually read it. So I do want to read this. And look at the 100-Acre Wood. Ah, I love Winnie the Pooh. My favorite characters are probably Kangaroo and Eeyore. So, and maybe Tigger. Oh, for Philip Pullman fans, Secret Commonwealth of Elves, Fairies, or Elves, Haunts, and Fairies by Robert Kirk. That is where he got the title for the Secret Commonwealth. I'm pulling off like almost everything off this shelf. This is a very exciting shelf for me. But I have Sylvia Townsend Warner's Kingdoms of Elfin and of Cats and Elfin. I love Sylvia Townsend Warner. She's a really fantastic writer. I have not read these. I just know I'm going to love them. These are put out by Handheld Classics, which unfortunately did close their doors just a few weeks ago. Slightly regret there were a couple editions that I wanted to get from them that I didn't. But I do have these. I've had these for a very long time. I really love Sylvia Townsend Warner. I believe she's writing pre-Tolkien. So they're pre-Tolkien fantasy. And this is another like highly anticipated one, Troy Chimneys by Margaret Kennedy. I have a feeling I will love Margaret Kennedy when I finally read her. She just seems like an author I'm going to vibe very well with. But this was pitched to me as very like Jane Austen core. So we're into that, and this is also a McNally edition. Sea of Tranquility and Station 11 by Emily St. John. This is I think it's Barnes & Noble edition with the edges. I have not read Emily St. John and Dell. Underland by Robert McFarlane. This is one of my favorite books. This is probably my favorite nonfiction book. I think about it all the time. I love Robert McFarlane. This is kind of a story about time, kind of a story about underground places and different ways of the world, like things. I did annotate it a little bit as I read. I think about this all the time, particularly when he goes to where they basically keep nuclear waste, and he is talking about like mythology and stories of like catabasis and things like that. And anyway, this is really great. And also, hey, I know a lot of people are putting together like reading lists for catabasis. Read it before the new R.F. Kuang book comes out. I actually think this would be a really good one to read before that. Then we've got some Torve Yarnson next to that because I really like her. I've read the summer book. This can be a film, I think. And then I have Moomin Summer Madness. This is the only Moomin book I own. Shame on me. I do love these editions, which I can be Moomin troll. And I love the map that they do for it. This is so charming to me. Midsummer Madness. Marquis de Sade, Philosophy of in the Boudoir. I've dabbled with this one a little bit. I would love to sit down and just read it though. This is like erotic fiction, and this is, I mean, the Marquis de Sade, his name is where we get the word sadism from. I'm just so intrigued by him and books like this. Another Torve Yarnson. I don't know why I separated her like that, but there she is. Fair kid, or just kids. Oh, Caledonia. This one is The Lear Wife. Also a Goldsboro edition by J.R. Thorpe, retelling of King Lear. Then we have the Gormenghast trilogy by Marvin Pake. I'm actually reading Titus Grown right now. That's my currently reading. And I am, let's see, I'm doing the audiobook. I think I'm just about here at page 160. I'm enjoying it. I think when I finish the first two, I will put together a review. Yeah, thereabouts. When I finish the first two, I'm going to put together a review of them. I don't know if I'm going to read the third one. And then I have two of my copies of If We Were Villains. I also have just the standard US. So this was the Barnes & Noble exclusive, which I love. And this is like, this is probably my favorite edition though. You know I love swords. I think I've already said that in this video. And this one, I just love how the swords like come across. I enjoyed this book. I wouldn't say it's my favorite. If you're putting like the titans of dark academia up against each other, which is If We Were Villains versus the Secret History I far prefer. But I enjoyed all the Shakespeare in this. Special Topics in Calamity Physics, Stoner, I kind of want a different edition of Stoner. In Memoriam by Alice Wynne. This is the Goldsboro edition. I need to read this one so badly. This is like probably a top priority for me. I love Torve Yarnson. I don't know why I separated her from the, well, I don't know why I but whatever, I did. Some Evelyn Waugh. Brideshead Revisited. You can see this one a lot. Handful of Dust and Decline and Fall. These are really cute editions. I love them. And then, okay, this is like a top priority book for me, but it is so long I have no idea when I'm going to get to it. So that's The Books of Jacob by Olga Tokarczuk. And this thing is just like massive, massive, massive. The shelf, yay! Here she is. Isn't she beautiful? What doesn't get into her? There really is no theme. I think at one point I was like, this is a wintry shelf. I think. I don't see it so much anymore. What have we got? We got Les Mis. No idea when I'm gonna read this. Although very funny, in between when I'm like moving the camera and putting books away, I'm listening to an essay. It's old. It's pretty old now. It is Why the Music in Les Miserables is Worse Than You Thought by Sideways. That's what I've been listening to in between doing this, because I'm just going down a like rabbit hole of music. Anyway, Christopher Marlowe, The Complete Plays. I got this because I was reading that Shakespeare book. Oh, Brothers Karamazov. I want to read this so bad. Dostoevsky. Dostoevsky is like a very hot author at the moment. I want to read this ASAP. This is like the one I'm most interested in. Oh, Anna Karenina. I have such mixed feelings on this book. Look at all of my annotations though. I had so much. This took me so long. I have a vlog series. I'll link it. I have such thoughts on this book. Nan Shepherd. First of all, I want to shout out the Canongates, the Canons. There we go. They're just like editions I really enjoy. And The Living Mountain by Nan Shepherd is a book I know I'm going to love. Robert McFarlane mentions it in a different book, which I think is on this bookcase somewhere. And every book he mentions there is interesting, but this one I feel like is just going to really get to me. Then I have a bunch of the Fitzcarraldo editions. I love these. I love how simple the design are. The Annual Banquet of the Gravediggers Guild by Matthias Anard is I've butchered that. Matthias Anard, high priority for me. Tell Them of Battles, Kings and Elephants by the same author. I read this, was it this year or was it late last year? I enjoyed it, but it was not what I thought it was going to be. And then Cold Enough for Snow by Jessica Au. And also by them, but this is a nonfiction one, is Porn and Oral History by Polly Barton. Then I have, oh my gosh, the books are falling. They be falling. New favorite. The Game of Kings by Dorothy Dunnett. This book is phenomenal. This book has inspired so many fantasy writers, and I totally get why. I started it, it was very dry. I switched to audiobook and obsessed. I'm so obsessed. Lyman is baby boy. And Queen's Play, I hope to read this one soon. Maybe even this one. Then I have Eileen, The Binding. Oh my gosh, Thorny Hold. If I don't read this year, I'm gonna be so upset with myself. I am obsessed with this cover, total cover buy. Never heard of Mary Stewart before, but I saw this book on, someone posted on Instagram, and I was like, I have to read that. That looks so interesting, so good, such a vibe. And I think the very first line, yeah, the very first line, so iconic, I cannot wait to read it. It says, I suppose that my mother could have been a witch if she had chosen to. I love that. I love this energy, so that'll be this year. Confessions of a Fox by Jordy Rosenberg. The King of Elfland's by Lord Dunsany. This is my other copy of Wood in the Mist. Forgotten Beasts of Eld, my other copy. Fire from Heaven by Mary Renault. Nancy Mitford's The Pursuit of Love, and other novels. There's 3 books in here. Evelyn Waugh, Handful of Dust, Stella Gibbons, The Wood in Winter. I just really wanted to get one of these published by Dean Street Press because I see like these covers all the time, but I wanted to see what one physically looked like. And they do have these like fairly boring spines, but do you know what it's giving? It's giving like library book, and I'm kind of into it. And anyway, so this is a book I was genuinely interested in otherwise, but I wanted the Dean Street Press edition anyways. Fauna Winter's Night of Traveler. One of my favorite books. This is so good. If you love books, which if you're watching this channel, you probably do, this is just a must read for you. I'm not even kidding. Then I have some Murakami. I really prefer the UK editions of these, and I think they're changing them all, so I'm trying to collect them all. Norwegian Wood, I have read. I really like Murakami, and I liked Norwegian Wood for most reasons. There's that weird thing towards the end. And then Kafka on the Shore, I'm planning to read this one soon. And then The Wind Up Bird Chronicle. I don't know when I'm going to read this one, but again, trying to collect all the covers. And then this one, I feel like I'm going to love this so much. Letter for a King. This is technically a children's book, but this seems incredibly up my alley. And then I Am a Cat by Sasuke, which this is, I think, 3 books into one. Washington Square, Elizabeth Gaskell's Wives and Daughters, which I got about halfway through this one several years ago, and I do not remember why I dropped it. I was really enjoying it. It is almost a like pseudo like Cinderella-esque story, and I really like that, and I love Elizabeth Gaskell. She's also the one who wrote Cranford, and I don't know why I dropped it, but I did, and I want to probably start it over and reread it, because I was really enjoying this one. So that's Beware of Pity by Stephen Zweig, but I've also got Sylvia Townsend Warner's The Corner That Held Them. This is the first Sylvia Townsend Warner book I read, and also her final book that was published. It is about a convent of nuns in medieval England, set during the Black Death, and you're kind of introduced to it all. It's a comedy, and you're kind of introduced to it all when this guy rides up to the convent and he's like, I promised I'm a priest, feed me, and so they do, and he ends up becoming like the priest there. But it's also a lot to do with like the building of I believe it's a cathedral. It's been a couple years since I've read it, and whether it gets built or not is sort of a core element to the story, but this is quite good. I really recommend it, although I wouldn't say this is like the one you should start with. I would actually recommend starting with Holy Willows, which is her more well-known one, I believe. And I have next to that Bambi, which is recommended by a friend. Mythalga Wood and Lavendis by Robert Holstock. Of course, Lion the Witch and Wardrobe. Prince Caspian. Lion the Witch and Wardrobe, one of my favorite stories ever. A copy of Northern Lights. I like these editions of Edith Wharton. These are put out by Virago. This is, too close. This is The House of Mirth, and then The Age of Innocence. I really just bought these for cover buys. I don't know when I'm going to read these. Also by Virago, I have High Rising, which is the first one in a series, and Frost in May. This is part of their like anniversary set, I think, that they did at one point. Since then, I've actually enjoyed covers they've put out more since then. This is nonfiction. It's Constellation Myths by Eratosthenes and Hyginus. These are constellation myths. I have Truman Capote's Answered Prayers. This is a little pocket penguin, modern pocket. Italo Calvino, The Distance to the Moon. It has some selections from the Cosmic Comics and is really good and really trippy. Snow Country by Kawabata, After Midnight by Irmgard Clean, Enchanted Wanderer. This is a short story collection by Nikolai Leskov, which is or was a Russian writer. I have Anne Bronte's Agnes Grey, Thomas Hardy's Jude the Obscure, Mikhail Bulgakov's Master and Margarita, a different edition of the Wind-Up Bird Chronicle. Very pretty edition. East of the Sun, West of the Moon by Jackie Morris. I love Jackie Morris's art style. I just really love it. And I'm very much enjoy mythology, and folklore, so I feel like it was kind of like a given that I would get this at some point. And then next to it, also with art from Jackie Morris and written by Robert McFarlane, is The Lost Spells. This is so charming. Little poetry with art next to it. Really love this. Is one of my favorite pieces. I said I'm not a poet or like much for reading poetry, but this is like quite the exception. These are my original Golden Compass editions. I got them in like elementary school and then promptly had them taken away from me because I am Catholic, and so my parents were like not comfortable with me reading these, so I actually didn't read them until I was quite a bit older, but these are my original editions. So I mean, kudos, they took them away, but they did not throw them out. They just like hid them until I was older. And then I have two different editions of The Last Unicorn and A Winter's Tale by Mark Helprin. I always want to say Helpern, but it's Helprin. So we're gonna go down one more. Okay, I'm now on the ground. Hi. We have probably my favorite shelf, like aesthetically and visually. It is just so beautiful and very tight, actually. I'm not going to be pulling any of these out to show you the covers just because it is so tight. I pull one out and they well, that was a bad example. They do start to buckle if they come out. These are the complete set of the Penguin Clothbound Classics mini editions. I have them as close to rainbow as I could get them. Plus I have one of the smaller size poetry collections and then two little penguin pockets. And I love this collection. It is beautiful. So the complete collection is Ballad of the Sad Cafe by Carson McCullough, Chess by Stephen Zweig, Snow Country by Yasunori Kawabata, which I have read, Nabokov's Dozen by Vladimir Nabokov, White Nights by Fyodor Dostoevsky, Ice by Anna Kavan, The Adventure of the Blue Carbuncle by Arthur Conan Doyle, which I have read, Territory of Light by Yukio Tsushima, which I have read, I'm pretty sure, Bliss by Catherine Mansfield, A Spy in the House of Love by Anais Nin, The Enchanted April by Elizabeth Van Arman, Breakfast at Tiffany's by Truman Capote, which I have read, Death in Midsummer by Yukio Mishima, Bonjour Tristesse by Françoise Sagan, Street Haunting by Virginia Woolf, which I have read, and I read this edition. Actually, I read this edition of Breakfast at Tiffany's as well. The Lagoon by Joseph Conrad, The Gift of the Magi by O. Henry, The Lottery by Shirley Jackson, which I have read, Moonlight by Guy de Maupassant, Passing by Nella Larson, The Nutcracker by E.T.A. Hoffman, which I have read, The Prophet by Khalil Gibran, Of Ghosts and Goblins by Lafcadio Hearn, The Cossacks by Leo Tolstoy, Hellscreen, Ryunosuke Akuragawa, About Love by Anton Chekhov, Calypso in London by Sam Selvin, Summer by Edith Wharton, Shooting an Elephant by George Orwell, which I have read, My Friend Maigret by George Simenon, Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka, which I have read, Of Mice and Men by Steinbeck, which I have read, The Library of Babel by Jorge Luis Borges, Babylon Revisited by F. Scott Fitzgerald, Mask of the Red Death by Edgar Allan Poe, which I think I have read, but it was a very, very long time ago, Babette's Feast by Karen Blixen, Letters to a Young Poet by Rilke, The Fall by Albert Camus, The Awakening by Kate Chopin, which I have read, Dream Story by Arthur Schnitzler, The Imitation of the Rose by Clarice Lispector. Lolly Willows by Sylvia Townsend Warner, which I have read. The Cosmic Comics by Italo Calvino, which I have read. The Star Child by Oscar Wilde, which I have read, and I read this edition. Lady Susan by Jane Austen. The Queen of Spades by Alexander Pushkin. Reginald's Christmas Revel by Saki. And Big One by Dorothy Parker. I have not read this, but I've read other Dorothy Parker, and I love her writing. And then this poetry piece is Goblin Market and Other Poems by Christina Rossetti. And then I have Edith Wharton's The Reckoning and Charles Dickens' To Read at Dusk. So that is that shelf. I'm going to pull these out and then I will show you what is behind it. Okay, here we go, behind it. We have this edition of The Last Tycoon. I really like these editions they did of Fitzgerald, and I actually really like Fitzgerald. He's a writer. I unfortunately really love his writing style, and I like these, but this is the only one I have in this edition. Autobiography of a Corpse by Sigismund, I'm so sorry, something, I'll show you. Ooh. Then I have some Everyman's Library, which I think I said earlier, I really like the naked one, so I tend to ditch the physical, the dust jacket, which is not super common for me, but I have The Handmaid's Tale, Pride and Prejudice, and 1984. These are Europa editions. I read Thirst. This is a little bit about, not a little bit about, it's about Jesus, which is really an interesting take. It's like his last day. House of Spirits by Ellen D. This is an arc, technically, of Laura Segal. I haven't read anything by her. Oh, here we go. I love this edition of, so it's The Hours, but then you flip it, and it is Mrs. Dalloway. So, Hours by Michael Cunningham, and Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf. I love that. I think that is very clever. These are my original editions of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. This is the Broken Column. I got this for a book club and then didn't participate that month in the book clubs. Then I have So Queer. Oh, this, okay, it keeps falling, so I'll show you. It's a map of Middle Earth, a topographical map. That's the back. Woo. That's the back. I just didn't know where else to put that, so it lives here for some reason. Queer by, I read this before I knew it was turning into a film, and I didn't like it, but I should just watch the film. Rebecca, really liked Rebecca. This was fantastic. Memento Mori. Oh, Owlish by Dorothy C. I bought this last time I was in London, totally out of the blue, no plans. So I am like, I read this on the plane ride back home, and the beginning is so good, but then like a lot of subtlety just kind of like disappears and you're kind of hit over the head with things, and I didn't really like that by the end. I don't want to get rid of it. These little editions are like the Penguin like sci-fi classics that they did. So this is 1 Billion Years to the End of the World, Dimension of Miracles, Trafalgar, The Hair Carpet Weavers, and The Siberiad. I really like these editions. I think they're cute. And then similarly, I have, these are two of their like green thinking. Think Like a Mountain by Aldo Leopold and Man's War Against Nature. And I've read this one. Coach by Carino. Bluettes. I got this as a white elephant, or not white elephant, a Secret Santa one year. Again, not a big poetry fan. I just don't read a lot of poetry. I've always struggled with poetry, I should say. But I really liked this. I thought it was beautiful, really wonderful. And then this is Dorothy Parker book that I have read the most out of. I love her writing style. She's so talented. She's so good. This is a portable Dorothy Parker. I bought this at the same bookshop I got Hidden Sea in that I mentioned earlier. That I cannot for the life of me remember where exactly it was. Then I have another copy of Anna Karenina and whoop. Well, all right. And War and Peace. Well, that's actually, I think, my only copy of War and Peace. Oh, no, I have my own clothbound. That's right. So we're going to go back down. To lead off, we have House on the Hill by Pavesi. Lion's Honey by David Grossman. This is a retelling of, I think, Samson? Woo! Samson. Story from the Bible. That's another Canon Geek cannons. I really do love how they look. This is the Cazalet Chronicles series. This is book 1. This is by Elizabeth Jane Howard. I haven't read these. These are, so here's the thing. I had like the first 2 I had bought, and then I saw that they were redesigning them, and I like the new redesigns, but I really wanted this, so I had to buy the rest of them to have the match on my shelf. Possession by A.S. Byatt. I had never really even heard about this book, but Ava Reed really loves this book and talks about it a lot on social media. And I believe it was one of the, not inspirations necessarily, but one of the key elements to Ava Reed's writing of Study in Drowning, which is one of my favorite books, so I had to pick it up. Oh, here it is. I was talking about this earlier. Landmarks by Robert McFarlane. This is the book that mentions the Living Mountain, as well as a lot of other books. This is fantastic. It's nonfiction. A lot to do with how language changes and dies, and specificity of words has kind of gone away, and original words have kind of gone away. And I think this is a great resource also for just writers in general. Not just readers, but writers, or anyone interested in like nature writing. This is a great place to start. Anything by Robert McFarlane is a great place to start if you're interested in getting to nature writing. James Harriet's All Creatures Great and Small. Ducks Newburyport. I bought this because I heard it was challenging. But I've been not brave enough. John Crowley's Little Big, which I had a customer tell me one time that this is his like favorite book and he rereads it every year, and the way he was just talking about it made me really want it. This is it doesn't look like I have the complete set of Anne of Green Gables. I do. I don't know at the moment. I just have the little like mass market American sizes, but these are really cute. I love these covers. These are done by Virago. I should just get the matching and complete set at some point because I love Anne of Green Gables. This is one of my favorite series, and my favorite books in the series are actually Anne of Avonlea, which is book 2, and Anne's House of Dreams. That book is just beautiful and like changed my life in so many ways. And then I have an Elizabeth Taylor, A Game of Hide and Seek. I have quite a few of her books. I haven't read her. I just feel like I'm gonna vibe with her. Then I have Barbara Pym. I have No Fond Return of Love and Jane and Prudence. And I've read Jane and Prudence. This is one of my favorite books. This is one of my favorite books. I love Barbara Pym. This is my original copy of Swan's Way or The Way by Swans. I would probably read this edition and not my clothbound. And then we have some Stella Gibbons, similar to Elizabeth Taylor and Margaret Kennedy, who I mentioned earlier. I very much get this feeling that when I read Stella Gibbons, I'm going to fall so deeply in love. So I have Starlight, The Bachelor, and The Matchmaker here, and I have some more of hers elsewhere. And then I also have this edition of I Captured a Castle by Dodie Smith, and I think this will be a springtime read. And then these are like the vintage classics. Used to do like these little square ones. I don't think they do that anymore, but they did an Iris Murdoch series, and then they also did like the Sisterhood series, and this is Heidi, and Heidi is one of my favorite books from my childhood. Then behind it, The Georgics, A Poem of the Land by Virgil. I got this because I do believe this is the very first instance of Orpheus, the myth, popping up, which is a very important just like myth to me personally. Then I have an edition of Pride and Prejudice. This is the edition I originally read. Lonely Passion of Judith Hare, Brian Moore, A Month in the Country by J.L. Carr, Wish Her Safe at Home by Stephen Benatar. Any relation to Pat? No, okay, I'm sorry. A Field Guide to Getting Lost by Rebecca Solnit, Bird by Bird by Anne Lamott. Then I have, this is for the Persephone books. This is Miss Pettigrew Lives for a Day, and these are the end pages. There. I told you I had like a full-size Pushkin, and here one is. This is Theodore Fontaine's Effie Priest. This is my original copy of Song of Achilles. Weather in the Streets by Rosamund Lehman, more Elizabeth Taylor, Angel, Ms. Telford, the Claremont, the complete short stories of Oscar Wilde. I love Oscar Wilde. I also particularly love his fairy tales. I think they're just really wonderful. Trollope's Can You Forgive Her, North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell, Heritage, Vita Sackville-West, Importance of Being Earnest, other plays, which I really like this cover. Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird, so iconic. What a good book. Iconic American literature. Man with the Compound Eye by Wu Ning Yi. Weird cover, but I love it. But then I have, okay, so this is The Railway Children by E. Nesbit. This was not a part of my childhood because I was conflating this book with the Boxcar Children, and I had read like the first Boxcar Children book as a child and hated it. So I just thought this was also that because I was a child. And it wasn't until like 20 something like 2020 or something I realized it was separate. Then I have, these are the vintage like squares of most of Jane Austen's Innocence, Sensibility, Mansfield Park, Persuasion, Pride and Prejudice. I have The Waves by Virginia Woolf. I have read this one, which I will say the process of reading that book, I was like so confused, and then by the time I would get to like 20 pages after where I was confused, I'd finally understand what had happened 20 pages previous, but then I was confused about like the current pages. Housekeeper and the Professor by Yuko Ogawa. I really want to read this one, but I have a really hard time with books that have to do with like brain injuries. And so I think it might be like a struggle, but I do really want to read that. The Makioka Sisters by Junichiro Tanizaki. I have read this. I believe I have a reading vlog up for this. I have such mixed feelings about this book, but overall I'm so grateful to have read it. And I do think it is like an achievement of mine to have read it, and it's really marked me. And then I have another edition of Anne of Green Gables because I love Anne of Green Gables. And then I have this is Stories of the Trees, Woods, and the Forest. So it's like a collection of things. And then I have another copy of Breakfast at Tiffany's. I think you can see it all. The closer we get to the ground, the harder and harder it is going to be to film. So we are on the third to last shelf actually. So we're starting off with a book that, again, I keep saying I want to read it this summer, and then this summer never appears, and that is The Lost Estate by Alain Fournier. He unfortunately passed away, I believe, in World War I. I'm pretty sure I'm not wrong. So this is the only book that I believe was published during his lifetime, although there is another one that came out posthumously. And this just screams like summer and a little Bacchanalian. Then we have, so these are Serpent's Tail classics, which I discovered recently. This one is Ready to Catch Him Should He Fall. They all seem kind of counterculture. All of them are queer. And then I have also from them The Sexual Life of Catherine M. I have some Eve Babbitt's, my girl Eve, LA Woman, Sex and Rage. A book came out recently about her and Joan Didion. And then I have The People of the Sea by David Thompson. This is a Selkie story. Selkies are some of my favorite mythological creatures. I'm just so interested by them. And then The Goddess Chronicle by Natsu Carino. Some Hollinghurst, because I love Alan Hollinghurst. I mentioned that already. The Stranger's Child. I've not read this one yet, but I have. Oh no, I haven't read this one either. Where are the ones I've read? What are they? Oh, they're down a shelf, it looks like. Maybe. Oh, there's one here. We'll get to it. These two are the two I have. Oh, I also haven't read his new one, but I think the next one I'll read will actually be this one. I read one a year or so. I really love his writing. Bell Jar. This book fucked me up, guys. That fucked me up. And I have Joan Didion's The White Album, Oversea, Understone. I really just need to buy the whole series. I never finished the series. I read the first three when I was a kid, and I was affected. But I think my library didn't have like books 4 or something at the time, and I am not good at waiting. Ellen Kushner, one of my favorite authors, Thomas the Rhymer. I haven't read this one, but I love her. I'm sure I will read that soon. I'm gonna savor her. It's more Elizabeth Taylor, Be in the Harbor, In the Summer Season, Blaming, L.P. Hartley's The Go-Between, Anais Nin's Henry and June, Decline and Fall, Scoop, and Vile Bodies, all by Evelyn Waugh. Swimming Pool Library, this was my first. Hollinghurst. I really love this, but I will say I don't think it's my favorite. Margaret Kennedy, The Constant Nymph. I just know I'm gonna love this one. When I read it, I just know. Also, look at this cover. It is stunning. Stella Gibbons, another one, Westwood, Give Me the Rose by Umberto Eco. Here's some more Murakami. I have The Wind Hear the Wind Sing, and this is Hear the Wind Sing, and also Pinball, which the ending of Pinball is so cinematic and has stuck with me so well. But I do feel like you have to read Hear the Wind Sing to read Pinball. Although I think you benefit the most if you've read those. But I don't think you have to read those to read A Wild Sheep Chase and still get it. And the story I always tell about this book is I had read it early the same year. So when was the last time I was in London? I was in England 2 years ago, I think now, in 2023. And I had read this earlier that year and adored it, and I just like consumed it. And then when I was in England, we were at Stonehenge, and there was like a bunch of sheep, and I was having this like reaction to the sheep that I could not explain because I love farm animals. And then I realized it was because I was actually having a reaction to this book, which is kind of crazy. And then I have Dance Dance Dance, which I haven't read this one yet. This is the last one in like the rat books. And I have, I love the Fitzgeralds. I have Zelda's book. This is her only novel that was published, unless you count The Great Gatsby, which it is quite possible. She had a very heavy hand in writing. This is Save Me the Waltz. I have The Lighthouse, The Black Prince, The Bell, The Sea. So To the Lighthouse is Virginia Woolf, Leatherfield, Murdoch. And then I have Offshore by Penelope Fitzgerald. And I bought this in one of my favorite indies, which is in Galena, Illinois, and this just seems very charming. And I want to read this one because I also really want to read. Oh, I even have the bookmark. Galena Book and Paper. Focus, please. There we go. And I want to read this because I really want to read The Bookshop, which she also wrote. Behind that, we have Violins of Saint-Jacques, The Last Quarter of the Moon, The Satanic Verses, Memoirs of Two Young Wives. This is Summer Will Show by Sylvia Townsend Warner. So another Sylvia. Does this also have another book in it? Short story? No, it just has that. I've not read this one yet. I have another Persephone classic though. The Deepening Stream, which these are the and pages. One of my favorite nonfictions that I've ever read. This is Madame de Pompadour by Nancy Mitford. If you're at all interested in French history or Madame de Pompadour, I do love this. I don't know if it's like necessarily the most like, it's not dense, right? Like it's not going to give you like breadth, but it really narrows in on her as a person, and it is quite good. I was originally particularly interested in her because of that one episode of Doctor Who, which is one of my favorite episodes of Doctor Who. So yeah, that was really quite good. And then I also have by Anais Nin, The Veiled Woman. I have read this. I really like this. I like Anais Nin. That's why I bought Henry and June, Who Was Dead, or Who Was Changed and Who Was Dead by Barbara Comyns. A friend really loves Barbara Comyns and told me I had to read this, so I bought it, but I haven't read it yet. This is published by Daunt Books. Interesting. And I have Truman Capote, Summer Crossing, The Great Gatsby. This is by Alma Classics. Is that who put it out? Alma Classics. I love this. I think it really captures, my 20s. I just like how it looks. I love The Great Gatsby. I genuinely do. They did these like pop punk almost, or I shouldn't say that, but like these like poppy Shakespeare editions, As You Like It. I would like to collect them all. I think they're cool. They're trying to appeal to like young adults. Grendel by John Gardner. I've read that long ago. View of the Harbor from Elizabeth Taylor. Mr. Palomar, Tal Calvino, Raw Shark Text. I've heard this one is good for fans of like House of Leaves, which I haven't read, but like that's like the vibe, and I think it's like non-traditional storytelling maybe. Secret River by Kate Greenville, Mortel Calvino, Under the Jaguar Sun, Midsummer Night's Dream. I got this in Stratford upon Avon. It is so pretty. This is probably, well, it's not my favorite. It's one of my favorite Shakespeare's though, which is why I have another one right next to it. The Mermaid Chair by Sue Monkhead, Mermaid of Black Conch by Monique Ruffy, Balzac and the Little Chinese Seamstress. I read this because a coworker recommended it. We did a thing where we were doing like recommends for each other, and she recommended this, so I picked it up because it's the shortest one on her list, and I think about this book all the time. It has really stuck with me. I think it's very beautiful. I really recommend that to anyone who's just maybe sought solace in reading, because it just is very important and very good. Where the Wild Ladies Are. This is by Matsuda Ayoko, and this is published by Tilted Axis, which I'll have this sort of witchgrass, which has, oh, such a great cover. This is by Raymond Queneau, I think is how you say that. What a great cover. The Kitchen God's Wife by Amy Tan. I love Amy Tan. I have not read this one yet, though. Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. I enjoyed it. It was not what I thought it would be. Travels with Charlie by Steinbeck. I need to read this. I don't know when. Angels in America, Tony Kushner. That's a play. Gigi by Colette. This is also by Persephone. Persephone Books, Persephone Classics. Mariana by Monica Dickens. I have another edition of Gawain and the Green Knight. I just don't want to annotate this one. I really like this cover. I think it is gorgeous. 100 Years of Solitude. This is the Australian edition. A Death in the Family by Carl Uwe Nausgaard. Ugh, sorry, I'm probably mispronouncing that. After the Death of Don Juan by Sylvia Townsend Warner. And then I have over here Life with Picasso by Francis Gillot and Carlton Lake. Mr. Fortune. Oh, this is the one that has another book in it. So there's Mr. Fortune's Maggot, and then The Salutation, which I believe it's a direct sequel. And then Memoirs from Beyond the Grave by Francois René de Chateaubriand. Bottom two shelves. And I'm gonna try so hard to get this done. Okay, we're gonna try so hard to get this done because the battery's dying. Well, and I'm gonna have to reach around. You know what? Let's do it half and half. You see that? Okay. So, De Profundis on the end. Oscar Wilde. I love that book so much. It's one really long letter that he wrote while he was in jail, and that is the only thing Oscar Wilde wrote while he was in jail. Ballad of Reading Jail is not actually written from prison. Hunchback of Notre Dame. Maurice. I love Maurice. This whole corner, oh goodness. It's just hard to like get around the camera. It's a tight little space. Here we go. Oh, we're doing it. Maurice. I love Maurice. This is by E.M. Forster. It was published posthumously. It's really quite good. I strongly recommend this one. We've Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. Really good. Love the aesthetics. Crimson Petal in the Whites. Does anyone remember when this is referenced in Gilmore Girls? Because that's like iconic. Rembrandt's Horror by Sylvie Matin. I love this cover. I haven't read that one yet. Barbara Pym, Quartet in Autumn. Top Priority. This is the older edition because it's got like the old plain white spine instead of the new spines that they do like this. And this is Line of Beauty, which is probably my favorite Hollinghurst. It is a masterpiece, just absolute masterpiece. London Triptych is also a very good cover. A Little Life. This is one of my favorite books, but I never recommend it. I feel like that's not really fair to do to people. Plain Bed Heroines. I think, is this horror technically? I'm not sure. I think it has art in it as well. A little bit. There we go. Ah. Atonement. Oh, by George MacDonald. The Princess and the Goblin. And then this is one, instead of saying I want to read it every summer, I say I want to read it every autumn. Moondial by Helen Cresswell. And maybe at some point I will. You know, who knows? And then I have Umbria in Shadow by Patricia McKillop, which I read last year and which is so good. If you want classic fantasy done really, really well, Patricia McKillop's your girl. It's one of those books that's really enjoyable, and then you get to the end and it like kind of recontextualizes what you thought was going on. And it is just wonderful. Another edition of Fire from Heaven. I got that other edition because I wanted the whole series to match. I, Claudius by Robert Graves. Top priority for me. Also a top priority for me. Lucky Gem by Kingsley Amis. My OG Brideshead Revisited. Copy I originally read. I love this book. One of my favorites, True Heart by Sylvia Townsend Warner. Pale Fire. I forgot who, but I saw a review of this one time that made me just immediately go buy a copy, and then I haven't read it. You know how it goes. You know how it goes. The Marriage of Cadmus and Harmony. I believe this is nonfiction as well. It's just essay and mythology reflections. Christopher Isherwood, Mr. Norris Changes Trains. I love this cover. I love all the Isherwood covers. Here Be Dragons, some more Murakami. I've got South of the Border, West of the Sun, and then Colorless Sakura Tozaki, which I recommended to someone who said they wanted something depressing, and he said he had to put a pause on it because it was too depressing. So 2 copies of My Year of Rest and Relaxation, Girls Against God by Jenny Hval, Bluebeard's Castle by Anna Biller, which has just this wonderful drawback as well. It's so vintage. I love it. And then The Secret History, and then also the Barnes & Noble edition of Kiki's Delivery Service, which I really would like the rest of the series to be published in English. That's sort of my dream. Okay, then on this behind, there is actually some space there, which is nice. I have, see what's really interesting here. So there's The Magus by Fowles, or Magus, Homer's Daughter by Robert Graves, Jane Eyre, another copy of Brideshead, another copy of Northanger Abbey, another copy of Emma, Orm Shadow by Preeta Sharma. Is like a gothic, I believe, short novel. Abigail by Magda Sabo, Love in the Big City, Women Beware the Devil. This is a play that the National Theatre put on, which I really wish I could have seen, but I got this and read this instead. Neuromancer by Gibson. Kremlin Ball, another copy of Holly Willows, The Forsyte Saga, Volume 1, The Galsworthy, Never Let Me Go, and Remains of the Day by Ishiguro. I love Ishiguro. Picture of Dorian Gray, another copy. Buddenbrooks by Thomas Mann. Gothic Tales by the Marquis de Sade. And then tipping over, Once and Forever, The Tales of Kenji Miyazawa and Orlando by Virginia Woolf. Okay, the camera is like on its very last bar of battery, so we're just gonna dive right down. So I don't know if you can tell, there it is. I cut a hole in there because that is important plugs I needed to access. So in front, kind of hiding it, I have A Song of Ice and Fire. I have the Illumicrate. Whoop. The Illumicrate Madeline Miller set, which is just gorgeous. This is for my back. I have a copy of The Starless Sea, and then I have some children's books. So let me pull this stuff out. Oh, and the trinkets. I forget where these keys were from, but this was like the Moral Instruments themed one, and the Lord of the Rings themed one, and then this Red London I themed. So Darker Shade of Magic letter opener, and I'm so sorry, it's like dusty and gross. I don't typically get back here to dust because of my my bedside table. Okay, once again, so sorry, it is dusty and gross. But I have the Fangirl graphic novels, which I really liked, and then Mortal Instruments graphic novel, which, I don't know, it was so-so. Portrait of a Thief by Grace DeLee, Lapfona, Secret History, Book of Form and Emptiness. This is Tenderness, A Little Life. I think this one is signed. My Heartstopper and Alice Osmond books. I have all of the I've read all of Alice Osmond's books, but I have all of the books that I want to have. I don't need the other ones. And then I have some children's books, which I love. This is Brambley Hedge, the complete collection. Frog and Toad, the complete collection. Little Books for Little Brontes, which is really, really cute. Margaret's Unicorn, which is adorable. There's a ghost in this house. And then The World to Come by Robert McFarlane and Johnny Flynn. And Johnny Flynn is a musician and actor. Oh, and art by Emily Sutton. But Johnny Flynn is a musician and actor, and he played Mr. Knightley and Emma. And this is actually signed by both authors and the artist. So that's cool. I'm realizing now I didn't film an outro. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want close-ups of any of the books, let me know down in the comments, or hit me up on Instagram. Leave a comment on one of my posts there and I'll do a post dedicated to whatever book cover you wanted to know more about. I'm really hoping to do more classics and literature content this year and in years moving forward. So if you have any books you also want me to talk about for that, or authors you want me to explore for that, please let me know down below. Once again, thank you for watching, and if you watched it to the end of this video, I have a feeling you might like me and maybe you want to prove that. Just hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. I will see you guys next time. Bye!